I, Caesar, invite you to join me on a journey back to where it all began, a city that started as nothing more than a humble settlement by the Tiber River. Tradition tells us that Rome was founded on April 21st, 753 BCE by Romulus, a tale of divine intervention and fraternal strife. Yet, as I have learned by studying our records and listening to the whispers of the past, the true story of Rome is one of sweat, stone, and the grit of ordinary men. Our city was once a small cluster of huts, a mere pebble in the dirt among countless others. But from that insignificant beginning, a people with ambition, resilience, and unyielding purpose would shape history. Myth versus reality. Our legends proclaim that Romulus and Remus were nurtured by a she-wolf, symbols of divine favor and destiny. But even as these myths instilled pride in every Roman heart, archaeological findings in the Forum and along the Palatine Hill reveal a different, less glamorous story. The evidence shows that our earliest inhabitants were humble peasants and herdsmen, ordinary people who built modest dwellings and forged alliances with neighboring tribes. It was not divine destiny alone that made Rome. It was the resolve of those who refused to be overlooked. I have always admired that blend of myth and hard reality, a narrative that taught us to aspire beyond our origins. Before our republic, kings ruled over Rome, 7 in all, each leaving his own mark, for better or worse. But the final monarch, Tarquinius Superbus, was a tyrant whose abuses culminated in unspeakable acts, such as the dishonor inflicted upon Lucretia in 510 BCE. Her tragic fate sparked a rebellion led by noblemen like Lucius Junius Brutus. In 509 BCE, the people, driven by a collective thirst for justice and liberty, overthrew the monarchy. We cast off the yoke of kingship and birthed a republic, a radical, daring experiment in shared power. Though this change was born of pain and upheaval, it laid the foundation for a system that would, in time, govern a vast empire. The enduring code of Mos Maiorum. In the wake of kings and revolutions, our ancestors established a way of life known as Mos Maiorum, the customs of our forefathers. This unwritten code prized Virtus' courage and excellence, Pietas' duty to family and gods, and Gravitas' seriousness in all matters. I was raised on tales of Horatius Cocles defending the bridge, and of Mucius Scaevolar's unyielding spirit in the face of danger. These values were our guide, binding us to a tradition that demanded sacrifice for the common good. They were the quiet force that helped transform Rome from a collection of rival clans into a single, enduring entity, a lesson I would carry into every campaign and every political challenge. Citizens at arms, the Republic's backbone. In our early Republic, every Roman was both a farmer and a soldier. The citizen soldier was not a mere recruit, but a defender of the state, trained to wield his sword for the sake of liberty. I remember the story of Cincinnatus, a man who left his plough to lead our forces against danger, only to return to his simple life once victory was won. This ideal, that power was both a burden and a temporary gift, was enshrined in the offices of our consuls elected annually to prevent tyranny. By 500 BCE, our military might was becoming legendary, not because of vast armies, but because every man stood ready to defend his homeland. It was in this environment of duty and sacrifice that I, too, learned the importance of earning and wielding power responsibly. A conflict for rights yet, not all was harmonious within our walls. The early republic was torn between the patricians old, noble families, and the plebeians, the common folk who carried the weight of Rome on their backs. Around 494 BCE, when the plebeians marched to the Sacred Mount demanding justice, they forced us all to reconsider what it meant to be Roman. From this struggle, the office of the tribune of the plebs was born men who could veto decisions that threatened the people's welfare. Over the ensuing decades, compromises were struck. The law of the 12 Tables was written around 450 BCE to ensure fairness, and by 367 BCE, one of the two consuls could be a plebeian. This ongoing conflict was not a sign of weakness, but a crucible that forged a more inclusive state, reminding us that the true strength of Rome lay in the unity of its people. Rome's first catastrophes trials by fire. Even as we consolidated internally, External threats loomed. I recall the bitter memory of 390 BCE when the Gauls, led by Brennus, defeated our legions at the Battle of the Allia and sacked the city itself. Rome was laid low by invaders who, in their arrogance, believed they had extinguished our flame. But from the ashes, we learned to rebuild with greater fervor. Our fortifications were strengthened and our resolve deepened. The catastrophe taught us that even a mighty city is vulnerable without vigilance. I carry that lesson with me. An empire is not only built on victories, but on the resilience shown in defeat. The expansion of Roman identity. With internal wounds healing, Rome looked outward. Over the 4th and 3rd centuries BCE, we extended our influence across the Italian peninsula. Wars with the Samnites and skirmishes with the Etruscans not only expanded our territory, but also our identity. Conquered peoples were often given a choice: embrace Roman customs and join our burgeoning community, or be left to the fringes. Gradually, Roman came to mean more than a native of Rome. It became a badge of honor, a pledge of allegiance to a shared destiny. By uniting diverse peoples under one legal and cultural system, we planted the seeds of an empire that would, in time, stretch from the British Isles to the sands of Africa, mastering control law, infrastructure, and the art of governance. As our territory grew, so did the complexity of governing it. Rome's ingenuity shone in its establishment of provinces governed by appointed magistrates, in the building of roads like the famed Appian Way that stitched together disparate lands, and in the creation of aqueducts that brought life-giving water to distant towns. I watched as these innovations brought order and prosperity. Yet I also learned that with expansion came the peril of losing control. In 91 BCE, the social war erupted when our Italian allies demanded full citizenship. Reluctantly, we extended rights to nearly all free Italians by 88 BCE, ensuring that every subject felt of Rome's destiny. These measures, though born of necessity, laid the groundwork for an imperial system that balanced military might with civic integration, a balance I would later seek to exploit and enhance. As I stand here, reflecting on these formative years, I see a pattern. Rome's ascent was neither smooth nor predestined. It was forged in rebellion and tradition, in triumphs and defeats. The lessons of our early days, the fall of tyrants, the valor of citizen soldiers, the painful negotiations between elite and commoner, are the bedrock upon which the Republic was built. These foundations, though fragile at times, propelled Rome to heights I later inherited. They taught me that power is both a gift and a burden, that control must be continually earned, and that destiny is shaped by those bold enough to seize it. In our next module, I will delve into my own journey, how I rose when others hesitated, how ambition and alliances carried me from these ancient roots to the corridors of power. Until then, remember, even the grandest empire begins as but a pebble in the dirt.